today we're here to talk about
ANDOR episodes 4 through 6.
having more like classifications around kyber crystals, not even mentioning the Jedi. That's really cool.
Listen, I know Luthen is like your guy, and I think we get a lot of great moments in this. The moment when he is going back to Coruscant and he's doing the change and the expression of him being like, so good.
Stellan just does a really great job of just kind of bouncing back and forth between his alternate selves.
Even if it's in one line of dialogue, we get almost everybody's background in the Aldhani heist.
I just remembered that there is someone else with the name Rael.
Perrin sucks. How you gonna have Mon Mothma and fumble, bro?
I think the eye is like really charged with like the cosmic force type of energy, right? It feels like the mere idea that they would be able to lift that cargo ship through the eye feels kind of like a force-based feat in and of itself. It's these like small acts of rebellion that lead up to one big victory.
I hate Quinlan Voss, and he sucks.
What I see is the beginning.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Grayson, one of your hosts, and with me is
Cole, the other host. Grayson, what are we talking about today?
we're talking about ANDOR Season 1, Part 2, Aldhani Arc.
This is so dumb. We're going to be the Aldhani Arc.
We have to be fast-paced because these episodes are, honestly, I'll go ahead and say they're kind of faster paced than the previous 3. Like, I think rewatching these, like, initial gut instinct thoughts, like, it goes, and there's obviously, we won't dwell on it, but I know a big complaint or like critique with the show is that it's slow. And I think I felt that in the first time through, but again, rewatching these episodes, they go by very quickly to me, specifically these 3. Like, I'm just intrigued by all of the characters.
Yeah, this one is definitely faster than the first 3 episodes, if not only in its subject material, but also in just the way that it presents itself. Like, it doesn't feel like 3 episodes.
No.
I mean, the last one kind of felt like its own movie to begin with, but this one feels like 1 episode because it's just so fast.
Right.
And it's weird because there's a lot of like, I don't know, like slow moments, you know, compared to the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so we're going to talk about it lightning quick. So you just talk about the arc, you sum it up in 4 words, and then I'll do 4 words, and then we'll just do the outro, and we'll be good.
Aldhani Arc is very good. That's 5 words.
Train heist, very good.
No, before we actually get into the bulk of these next 3 episodes, I figured let's talk a little bit about the trailer for the May 4th drop, which came out of nowhere. Just dropped yesterday as we're recording this. Tales of the Underworld. Give me your thoughts. I have not heard your thoughts, and I want to know them.
So I guess this is just becoming like a May 4th drop thing now.
Right.
And I say this, but like it's only the 2nd time. I mean, who knows what they'll do next year? Do something too, you know.
Yeah.
Like I want them to do more of that. That could be really cool. Because technically they haven't done Tales of the Sith. Like it's only been Tales of the Empire, all right? So there's still a chance here.
Yes.
There's a lot of potential. But speaking of potential, there's a lot here for Tales of the Underworld. Is it of the Underworld or from the Underworld?
I think it's of. I think I think they're still using like the Tales of the and then whatever the fill in the blank is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just say I really like the trailer. Animation looks real good.
Yes.
And somehow they continue to make it better. And every time I see it, I'm like, there's no way it can get any better. And then it always gets better. Our choice of characters are Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane. Both choices, I think, like, Asajj, I expected to at least hear more about her, but her choice in this, I didn't expect.
Right.
And then Cad Bane, I'm really excited for because we're definitely getting some, like, origin story / prequel stuff for Cad Bane, and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna love this.
Yeah.
I think you and I are both looking for one particular thing to happen in his presumed 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Mini episodes, right? And I have a feeling they didn't show any of that particular episode, which I believe will be his last one, which is like his presumed showdown with Boba in the unfinished Clone Wars episodes.
That is really my biggest wish in this episode, or in these episodes. And I think there was kind of a critique with last year's Tales of the Empire drop. I remember that first trailer, like we were stoked, and then it kind of gave away a lot of the big moments, like specifically with Morgan Elsbeth. Like, it showed Grievous, it showed Thrawn, right?
Yeah.
And those were things that, like, I think they very easily could have showed from her episodes without showing those moments. Because Grievous is, I mean, he's very, both him and Thrawn are very brief parts of it. And so
100%.
I think they, and who was the other? Oh, Barriss. And then, like, they didn't show, they even showed Vader with Barriss. And that was like, a one moment thing. And I think maybe they're, I'm hoping, I mean, in the way it seems like it, there's not really any big major characters that we see in this trailer. I think maybe they're learning their lesson, and they're going to be like, hey, we're going to show parts of, like, this is what you can expect. But then I also do anticipate that there will be certain character. The two characters that I'm expecting to show up the most is, of course, I want that Boba scene so badly. I want it fully realized. And I think with, like, the framing of him, like Cad Bane and his, like, old friend, like, that he's like, or whatever it is, that, like, the kind of showdown, I'm like, I'm curious if it'll be like every episode or something, there's going to be kind of like a different one. 100%.
And you know who I want to be the second one?
Who's that?
Jango Fett.
Oh, dude, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Because we know that, like, with this sort of stuff, they really love their parallels. And so I'm imagining episode 1 is Cad Bane with, like, his childhood acquaintance. I don't know if it's like his brother or friend or something. I don't know. But then episode 2, Jango Fett, which was like his rival, right? And then episode 3 is Boba, like, settling the score with Boba. Because, like, Jango has been in so many, not Jango, Cad Bane has been in so many shootouts now.
Yes.
That we gotta see it. And I think, just chiefly, I really want to see Jango Fett in that animation.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Because when we had talked about, like, we called it Tales of the Bounty Hunters in the past many times before. You and I were like, it'd be really cool to see Jango in that animation, and I feel like this is you have to. I feel like this would be a really great way to show that off, even if, like, his second episode is just like, I don't know, just like a mini mission with him and Jango or something. Right. Or, like, man, I don't know, but it could be really cool.
The whole setup thing, I think it could be interesting for each episode of, like, okay, say in the first episode when he's younger, he wins. Maybe in the second episode it is like, I mean, we know that with Boba and Cad, it's a stalemate. So maybe he gets Jango, but it's still kind of unclear, and then it's like, okay, we've got to settle this, right? Like, and that's where the whole Boba thing comes in. And the only other piece of evidence that we know that maybe Boba shows up, but then again, this could also be tied into Ventress, although I'm thinking it's going to be Cad Bane, is that the Highsinger and that Lots Razi girl, the bounty hunters that are in Clone Wars, they're on the poster. I don't think we see them in, like, one shot of the trailer. So we know they're there. But I don't know which pair of episodes that they're in. So, and we know Highsinger was rocking with Boba for a while. So
I'm a big fan of Highsinger. Highsinger's like my Glup, you know, if you know what I mean. Because like, he only says one thing. He just, like, looks at the camera. He's like, like, I don't know. He's just Terminator. Seems very terrifying, and also like his design is just very cool.
So sick.
So I feel like that. I would really like to see that. I mean, honestly, like, imagine first episode, Cad Bane wins. Second episode, he loses against Jango Fett. And then the third episode, it's a tie.
He wants to settle the score. Yeah, I think that would be better, honestly.
Yeah, because I think that was, like, pretty much the reason why he was helping kind of train Boba up, was because he wanted to go, like, from what I recall, it was that he wanted to be able to face off against Jango, like, in his prime, but what's to say that he never did, right? Maybe he did and he lost, and he's like, oh, I gotta beat that guy, you know?
And we know the moment happens because when he shows up in Bad Batch, he has the thing on it, like, he has, even in Boba Fett, he has the thing on his head, so it is implied, even down to their showdown in Book of Boba Fett is implied to be a parallel to that, which I think is very funny, because it's like, hey, here's a parallel to this moment that never actually debuted. It's like, if it was only at that panel on YouTube, it's like, if you know kind of thing. So I'm hoping this is the realization of that, very much like how Bad Batch actually came to fruition in those deleted episodes. So I think we are only getting the tease of like, truly, I think all the footage that we saw might have been in those first 2 episodes of Cad Bane, so I'm hoping they're holding out.
Really hoping so.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get spoiled for this sort of stuff. That's why, like, I lately don't really watch a lot of trailers, because they gave a lot of stuff away, and my brain kind of sucks, because, like, I'll remember some things, and I'll be watching a show and going, like, haven't seen this scene yet. Like, I guess they're still going to be fine. Actually, I don't really recall most of the stuff shown for Ventress. I wasn't able to get a good gist of what was going on. Well, actually, no. I did see a couple things that I'm recalling now.
It seems to be majority that it's going to be post Bad Batch when she shows up, and she's going to be protecting some Jedi kid, and there's like a new Inquisitor. That's pretty much the gist, it seems like. And
another one.
Yeah, another. Literally, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like rabbits out here, bro. They just keep spawning. Like, what do they do? And he's not one that we've seen before. I do think, again, based on the poster, maybe it's just like a visualization thing, I don't know, but there is like some almost like Night Sister looking spirits in one, like a very small part of the poster, which makes me think we probably will get a small-ish explanation of to why she lived Dark Disciple, Dark Disciple, and also if she's protecting this kid, we know Quinlan was there in helping the Path and Kenobi. So it leads me to believe that their paths are going to intersect again, even though I hate Quinlan Voss and he sucks in that book, dude. He's the worst. I hate him.
Aren't you talking about Admiral Enigma? Come on.
Oh my gosh, dude.
The Riddler.
Riddle me this, Ventress.
Riddle me this.
Dude, so yeah, I mean, listen, maybe it'll be better on screen, something, but like, anyway, but yeah, I'll be honest, like, because, we read that book, or I did with a couple other guys, on Tales from the Archives, in excitement for that moment in Bad Batch. And I don't know, I think a lot of people really like that book, and that's awesome. Ventress is great in that book. She's not the problem. It's Quinlan Voss. And
it's our guy, Jason Momoa, in Star Wars.
Hey, Obi-Wan.
Permission to come aboard?
yeah. It's so ridiculous, dude. But yeah, no, I'm pumped. I think they are holding some of their cards close to the chest, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think they're doing the same thing with Andor Season 2, which I know you've avoided some of those trailers as well. But still,
yeah, I couldn't help myself. I had to watch it. I watched it recently. So.
Which one? There's 2 of them. Which one did you watch?
Well,
did it play
what
kind of music played? Was it like one you'll know which one you watched depending on the music?
Man, it was a few days ago. So
okay, it was probably the newer of the 2. The first one plays like heavy rock and roll.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I watched that one.
Yeah, that was the first trailer they showed. It's like the revolution starts now.
Wait, what? I didn't know about that. That's funny.
It goes incredibly hard. Some people didn't like it. I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
I feel like it would fit, but I'm not gonna complain about something I haven't seen. So
yeah. When we finish Season 2, you can go back and watch that trailer, and it's so high intensity and like chaotic. And Cassian just be looking tough with some rock and roll music playing in the background. Like, dude, there's a line, I think it does play in the new trailer, but it's from Saw Gerrera, and he's saying, he's just like, you're here right now, and you're ready, and you're willing to fight. And that's like, it's like part of that trailer. And I'm like, gosh, dude, like, listen, I know people kind of rag on Saw Gerrera, but he is such a cool character. Like, he is such a unique character.
I've really warmed up to him over time, even though I'll never forgive him for tech. But I've really warmed up to him over time, just because I think that he is a really good through line for some of the, like, through Clone Wars to Empire era. He's like really one of the first. And just his story is very enjoyable. And after having watched Rogue One so many times in the past couple of weeks, just because I've just been on a kick for some reason, I've just been liking him more and more. Regardless, one last thing about Tales from the Underworld, Tales of the Underworld. I'm curious as to like where they're gonna start Asaja's story, because like, I mean, what if they do something like before, like when she's still working with Dooku, right? I mean, I feel like that would be maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be as fitting because it's supposed to be about her story as a bounty hunter, right? And so hopefully we will kind of stay away from that. But if they did, you know, that could be some good connectivity there. You know, I don't know, working with Dooku and then with Quinlan, and then in the last episode, like her as a bounty hunter. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be like a thing. Maybe they show in it, like that episode that we see is actually like more of the middle episode, and the first one is maybe her. Maybe in her early days being Dooku's assassin and having to go undercover in the underworld, you know, because it's like, I mean, that's kind of the gist, is like, it's got to be the reason Tales of the Jedi was because it's just about Jedi. Tales of the Empire is like, okay, this is very Imperial centric, whether Morgan Elsbeth getting integrated with the Empire, Barriss, you know, being an Inquisitor for the Empire, and this is just like, it's a lot broader. It's like, okay, it's just the underworld, you know? So
I mean, technically, like if they wanted to, they could like do their own version of how she appears in a Tarkovsky's, you know? Because like that was like an underworld scenario. Like she jumps into the arena and beats all the guys, and then she's like, Dooku, you know, face me, and I want to be your apprentice.
That moment is actually, I think it happens in Dooku Jedi Lost very briefly. Like they're and they talk about, she's on Rat Attack is the name of the planet, I believe, and it's the same thing of like, I think it's a little bit different where she might be a slave at that point or something, but she's using the green, and one is her lightsaber, one is her master's lightsaber, Kyneric, and she's like in the arena, and that's how Dooku finds her, and he's like, you're mine. So
hey,
but I mean,
Palpatine,
I would
got a new one for you.
I think we get, I do think we only get the flashback of her when she turned, like when Kyneric gets killed in Clone Wars, she turns on those like pirate guys. So I honestly, that might be the best connective tissue right there, is kind of getting that like, hey, here's just a little bit more to let you know, like exactly, like she is from this life in a way.
I mean, honestly, it wouldn't even hurt for it to just be a part of an episode, right? Because if it's small enough, you could just kind of have it be a little bit of the mini episode, and then like you flash forward, and I don't know, maybe it could be like kind of interlaced with flashbacks instead of it being fully dedicated to one episode. However, you know, these shows so far have always seemed to like center around going from different places of time with the character. So like, you know, the past, I don't know, I'm not gonna say present, but like the past, the less past, and then the now. So
Star Wars timelines are weird. It's like whatever, like it's all a long time ago. So I think you're right, and that's why it feels to me like we didn't really get a whole, like, I think that's why they're being kind of intentional. Like, it seemed like all the footage we got was from maybe one contained episode, maybe some glimpses of the other ones, but nothing.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. So I also want to say, like, because I know this is the third Tales show, and they're kind of sticking to this like 6-episode 2-character format. I do hope eventually, like, you know, maybe the next one is Tales of the Sith, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna go back to Tales of the Jedi, and here's some more Jedi stories, you know. So that way, like, that would be like 4 short story shows that they could keep layering onto, because like, there are still other Jedi stories that I want told.
Agreed.
That I think, I mean, whether that would be like Obi-Wan with Satine when he's younger, you know.
Let's go.
Like, and I know people are gonna be like,
I need more out of that, you know.
And James Arnold Taylor wants to do that. Like, he says that is his most wanted thing he wants to do. That I think would be the perfect format to do that. So I mean, of course, people would complain about, like, might complain and be like, listen, we already have so much Obi-Wan, but like, that's such a crucial part of his story that I'd love to see that. Even if it was a thing of like, hey, we're gonna ditch the 2-character format, and it's just gonna be like, hey, here's just one Obi-Wan episode, you know, and like so it's like, here's 3, and it's 3 3 episodes, or sorry, it's 6 episodes, 3 characters, two per character. You know, I don't know.
Right.
I just hope that they can maybe that like the floodgates start to open. But I do think it is a promising sign that like it's. I just don't want some of these to be like abandoned, if that makes sense. You know, to be like, hey, here's Tales of the Jedi. Oh, is that like some really long show? No, it's just 6 episodes, and it's just a few characters, and we never hear about it again. You know.
Right. My assumption is that it's just a way to make digestible content.
Yes.
Kind of come out annually, just so that everybody can be sated for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think that maybe if they expanded on the format, because like technically Tales of the Empire is not Tales of the Jedi Season 2. So like they could do Tales of the Jedi Season 2 and then Tales of the Empire Season 2, right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that they could do with this. Like as you said, you know, maybe make each episode dedicated to one character. Okay, well then make the episodes longer and it just be dedicated to one, right? I feel like that could be cool. I feel like that could open up a lot of not only like just possibilities in the realm of like Star Wars lore, but it does give us really good it gives people chances to kind of see stories that are focused on characters that are otherwise not really seen all that much, because like I don't know, I feel like Tales of the Empire was probably a good example of that. How like we got to see like their stories expanded a little bit more, and it's nice.
I definitely think with Tales of the Underworld, like compared to Tales of the Empire last year, like which getting Morgan Elsbeth and Barriss was cool. Yeah. But like Tales of the Jedi was Dooku and Ahsoka, 2 very heavy hitting characters.
Yeah.
Cad Bane and Ventress, I think you could argue are even more, maybe not as much as Ahsoka, but like are as heavy hitting as Dooku and Ahsoka. Like we kind of I mean, as much as happy as I was to get some Morgan Elsbeth backstory, because I think that was a character that we didn't really know a whole lot about, and Barriss was kind of a thread that we wanted to know more about. I'm like, okay, it's the perfect place to tell stories that they're too short for a full-blown show or a book or a comic, but they're like, you know, they don't really have a place anywhere else, like, because, you know, I think we maybe expected to get a lot more Ventress in Bad Batch, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't, because then it would have been like kind of taken over that show in a way. Right.
It was definitely meant to be like a, hey, you know, we might do something at some point. And I don't think it's this either, because like what was it? Ventress's voice actress had mentioned that like she was working on something, but it was like something big, and I don't know if it's this. I think like this is also another kind of tease of what is to come, but we'll have to see what they do with that show. I think like Morgan Elsbeth's story, I think it was really good, at least like very enjoyable, but I kind of wanted more out of it.
It also kind of sucks because it's like, hey, here's a story about a character that's already dead as you know them, you know?
It was, I think it suffered from the runtime that was kind of limited in the show, because personally I think it would have made for a more enthralling episode if like maybe the third one was actually her second episode, and then the third one is like her meeting Balin and Shin. You know, like I feel like that could have been just a really good through line to Ahsoka. I feel like that kind of would have put that connective tissue there. I mean, to be honest, like I kind of expected a little bit more from Barriss as well. But that's another epised, you know, we could do. Today, we're here to talk about
go back to like a year ago. When we talked, we gave our whole Tales of the Empire. It was like a live stream. It's on our YouTube. I think it's on Spotify as well. But yes, ANDOR episodes 4 through 6. Like I did last week, I'm going to give a recap. I'm once again going to shout out one of my friends, Sunny, twin sons. She's doing recaps on her TikTok, and she's doing a better job than I am, and I'll probably glance over some stuff. So go on TikTok, go give her a follow. She's on Instagram as well. She's awesome. Anyway, episode 4 is called Aldhani. Episode 5 is The Axe Forgets, and episode 6 is The Eye. I'm going to kind of break these up into what's happening with each character. So from the get-go, we start off exactly where we left off at the end of episode 3. Luthen and Cassian are leaving Ferrix and jumping to Aldhani on their Fondor Hallcraft. Luthen pretty much reveals, he's like, listen, I really didn't come to Ferrix for the Star Path unit. I came there for you. I need you for this job. There's only a couple options. There's only a couple ways out of this. Either I drop you someplace and you try to fend off for yourself. You do this job for me, or like you try to kill me and take the ship or whatever. And he's like, I don't really think you want to do that. And Cassian is trying to figure out like what rebel sects he's with and everything. And so there's a little bit of some stuff there, but essentially Cassian Cassian is hired to go and do this heist on Aldhani. He's integrated with the crew. One is led by Vel, who is the contact, the vessel to Luthen. She is not happy that they are bringing a merc on board. And nobody else is either. However, Vel has to lie that because none of them are aware of Luthen. So that creates an interesting dynamic because it's Luthen down to Vel down to the group. But they are planning to steal a quarterly payroll on Aldhani, this Imperial garrison. It's kind of like a dam. They've been planning this for like 6 months. And when Cassian comes in, they're doing it in like 4 days. So they are pretty understandably upset that they're going to have to quickly get this guy into the groove so that they can pull off this heist. We're introduced to several characters in the crew. First, I already mentioned Vel. She's kind of the leader. There is Cinta. There is Nimic. There is Skeen. There is Terramin. And then there is Lieutenant Gorn, which is their connection into the Imperial base. He is kind of the turncoat spy. And all of them have very complex backstories and stuff. And we'll get
always
into that
one
a little
turncoat
bit.
spy.
Always one. So that's what's going on Aldhani. They are prepping for the heist. They're not really sure what to think about Cassian. They're kind of testing the waters. They don't really trust him. Anyway, we go over to Luthen. He goes back to Coruscant. He is returning back to his disguise as this artifact shopkeeper dealer. And he goes to Coruscant. He immediately gets into contact with Mon Mothma, who is there to buy a gift for her husband. However, this is actually just kind of a ploy to reveal that Mon Mothma and Luthen are in they are in cahoots. They are working together. Mon Mothma is actually kind of funding these rebel sects, and she's trying to move money around and stuff. And that's kind of what Luthen is really up to. He's kind of he's kind of hanging out in his shop, just kind of playing the long game until this heist commences. On Mon Mothma's end, we kind of get the feeling, or we are shown that she is, not to say that she has like a rough home life, but it's very stressful. She's already a senator. She's got all these responsibilities. Doesn't seem like her daughter really likes her very much. Her husband sucks. Just the worst, dude. He's just the most apathetic dirtbag. Mon Mothma she's already pulled thin from, again, her senatorial duties, and of course being a secret rebel sympathizer. So that's really what's going on with Mon Mothma. Another character that we are keeping up with is Cyril. Not much is going on with him other than the Morlana
cereal.
Corpse. He is eating playing with his cereal. Sometimes I wonder if that was intentional or not. But anyway, it's
never gonna be forgotten.
It never will be. Him and all of the other Corpse Set guys that botched that job horrendously on Ferrix are fired, and the Empire comes in. They take everything, and he's let go. And so he goes back to Coruscant to his mother, who, like I said right before this episode, pretty much just harasses him all 3 episodes. It's just her. She is the very like nagging, particular mother that's also like not very involved. And you can kind of tell that this is
bad.
It's not great. It's
bad.
not great. So he's trying to get a foothold into what his next steps are as a career. And the last piece of the puzzle is a new character working for the Imperial Security Bureau, the ISB, and that is Dedra Miro. She is a lot of the scenes that we're getting is within the ISB on Coruscant, and these several meetings and things. There's some infighting, but especially between her and another ISB agent named Blevin. Blevin is the one who lets go of all of the corpse sec people on Morlana, and he's the one that takes that over, while Dedra is trying to actually kind of fit her way into it because, one, she's noticing kind of more of a random trend of rebellion things all over, like rebellious acts all over the galaxy, which she doesn't think is random, but everybody else does. More specifically, she's trying to get jurisdiction over the whole Ferrix incident because the NS9 Starpath unit that was left behind was actually from her sector, the one that was stolen on Steerguard, the one that Andor stole. So she's kind of she's not really getting the respect that she deserves. So that's kind of what's going on with the ISB at the moment. Tail end, of course, with the end of these 3 episodes, the heist commences. They're going through the motions, trying to get everything into pieces in these 4 days, getting Cassian involved, and the heist proceeds, and it goes well until it doesn't. Everything, what they're doing is they're trying to line up this heist with what they call the Eye of Aldhani, which is a event that happens every 3 years. The natives to the Dani people, they end up kind of migrating. They were kind of pushed out of their land, but they end up migrating back up to witness this kind of spiritual, cultural moment for their society. And so they're using that because you pretty much, while that's going on, it's like not safe to fly, and the whole guise is to try to get sneak in, get the payroll, get it on one of these cargo shuttles, and blitz out of there while this is all happening using the Eye as cover. And like I said, it goes well until it doesn't. They get about 80 million credits, but in the midst of this, Terramin, Gorn, they both are knocked out of commission. Nimic, Skeen, Cassian, and Vel, they all get out while Cinta stays behind undercover as an Imperial. And Nimic is actually injured very gravely. He is smashed from right in the middle of his spine from a unsecured crate payload of credits. But they managed to get off Aldhani, blitz through Cassian as the pilot for this, and they end up going to a nearby planet to hopefully get Nimic into, to help save Nimic. And during this, we kind of get this moment. This is at the very end as they're operating on Nimic and Vela's watching him, where Skeen and Cassian are waiting. Skeen proposes that, hey, let's just take it for ourselves. 40 million for you, 40 million for me.
Bang.
Well, yeah, exactly. Just dead. Cassian kills him, cold blood, rushes in and tells Vel, listen, I just want my cut. I will pay you, the doctor, I will pay you 20,000, which is way more than it's worth for your ship. I just want my money. My job is done. Skeen was going to take it, which Vel doesn't believe him at first. And he's like, it's like, do you really believe that? Like, like think about that for a moment. I just want my cut and I'm gone. And but still the heist was successful. Nimic does not make it, and Vel does give Cassian Nimic's manifesto, which he has been writing. He wanted Cassian to have it, but the branches kind of stem out, and the galaxy is aware that this heist did take place, and Luthen finally catches wind of it when someone at the in his artifact shop, he's like, do you happen to have anything from Aldhani? And which he starts to get very anxious, and then he was like, I'm only joking. It's just there was a big heist there that happens. He's like, let me go in the back, and he just has this moment of utter joy, just disbelief of joy that the heist did succeed. Bam! End of the Aldhani arc. How did I do, Cole? Did I do okay?
Really great. I only interjected in the part where Cassian shoots Skeen because that's exactly how it goes. He literally shoots him while he's talking, which is just a great moment. Skeen has no chance to react, no moment. Like there isn't a moment in that at all.
Slumps over.
Really, really great arc, as we had already mentioned. Like, it just kind of, it goes by so quickly. I guess we'll just start by talking about how episode 4 like felt for us.
Yeah.
What were like some of your initial impressions, just kind of rewatching it for the first time?
Yeah, so like I said last week, I kind of forgot that like Mon Mothma and all those characters are not really introduced until episode 4, and that's kind of, I feel like,
Yeah.
when the quote floodgates open in a way. And even then, I will say they're not heavy-handed in these episodes. Specifically,
Right.
Cyril, Mon, and Dedra. Like, I think Dedra is kind of what you get the most of, but even Luthen is a little bit. They only kind of show up when they need to. Obviously, that's storytelling. But I do like, again, there's something. We remains to be seen if this will stand true, but so far the Aldhani arc is still absolutely my favorite. I love it, dude. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But the opening, I've got some notes here that because obviously I don't need to dwell on how much I like this, but there's some cool little lore tidbits from Luthen and from Cassian in here.
Yep.
Let's see which one I'll bring up.
Let's see which ones we both wrote down.
I'm sure there's one. Listen, let's just talk about it because it's like the heavy hitting thing. I forgot that the Kyber, the sky Kyber that is given to Cassian, it was a representation of the Rakatan invaders or a celebrate. Like when he said that, I was like, what? I forgot about that.
Yeah, see, I remember that there was like, I had remembered that there was like some Rakatan symbolism, but it's all the more reminiscent of Luthen's character because it represents the uprising against the Rakatans, like the successful uprising against them. And so of course Luthen would have something that represented like one of the great uprisings that eventually led to the formation of the Republic, right? Because at some point a long time ago, all of the humans and the rest of the galaxy were enslaved by the Rakatan Empire, you know? And so of course Luthen would have that because it's a representation of his current struggle of wanting to overthrow the Republic again. Really good stuff. I really liked that he said he called it blue Kyber, and then I think he called it like a sky crystal or a sky gem or something like that. Having more like classifications around Kyber crystals, not even mentioning the Jedi, is just that's really cool. And of course, and like having a name drop of Rakatan, really good stuff. I like that.
Specifically with Luthen and everything, like, I mean, that was one of the big things when the show was coming out, was his shop and all the little Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
And that's just like, to me, is enough to like connect it to the greater Star Wars universe. Like even down,
sure.
this is in the same episode. It's later on. There's Mortis tablets just chilling in there, dude. There's
Mortis tablets. There's a helmet reminiscent of Lord Starkiller's helmet. So he has like a Utapawan club, which he starts talking about. He's a professional yapper. That one, I love that guy. I wish I could go in there and just take a look around.
Oh my dude, I love that moment where I think it's the assistant that like I forget her name. I think they say it like one time. But they're kind of they're suspicious of that driver being a spy, and but he's like, oh, I can't afford anything in here. It's just like, it doesn't hurt to look, you know? And so she like kind of takes him over so that they can distract Mon Mothma. But listen, I know Luthen is like your guy, and I think we get a lot of great moments in this. Another thing, to perfect segue into this, dude, the moment when he is going back to Coruscant and he's doing the change and the expression of him being like, like, oh my gosh, dude, so good.
So that was like, I always remember that scene vividly. That's one of my favorite Andor scenes. It's just like, man, Bill Skarsgård, man, like just really
Stellan Skarsgård.
Stellan Skarsgård.
There's a whole fleet of them, by the way.
Every single time, I always swap the names in my head. When I'm talking about Bill, I say Stellan. Like Stella's performance is just really, really good in that scene. And also, just since we're talking about it, like just kind of the change of face when Mon Mothma visits the shop for the first time, and they go, and I never noticed this, but like when they go to the back, he's like, he's got kind of that joyous like shopkeeper I don't know, facade, and then the camera wraps around Mon Mothma, and when it passes her, his face has already changed, and he starts talking to her like Luthen Rael would, because as of the score references, there are two tracks. One of them is called Luthen Rael, which is what plays when he's on Ferrix, And then there is Luthen of Coruscant, which is what plays when he is dressing up. So there are two different Luthens, and Stellan just does a really great job of just kind of bouncing back and forth between his alternate selves. But Luthen as a character in general is just really, really great, and he has a lot of great lines in these first episodes. So one of the things I had mentioned that I had written down, when he's talking to Cassian at the beginning of episode 4, he tells Cassian they'll use the same rope to hang you, whether it'll be for a plasma coil or 20 million credits. And then he also says one that is very, very poignant after watching Rogue One, which is, you'll ultimately die fighting these bastards.
I wrote that down.
Like, he tells them, he's like, I know who you are. No matter what you say, I know you're gonna die fighting them. So why don't you do it for something real? And also when he's talking to Vel outside of the ship, and like he's like telling her what to do, and she keeps complaining, and then she ends up looking away, and then he just yells, "Look at me," while he's talking to her out of nowhere. He is such like Luthen is just really, really intense.
Yep.
And I just really great.
So that moment, and I don't know if I actually buy into this, but I have a kind of back-to-back notes of like, I think his leadership style is extremely fascinating, and I'm curious, like, I don't know if we're gonna get it. I feel like we have to, but I'm so curious on his background, like where he came from, how he got to this point 14 years into the reign of the Empire, like what, like, because there's just so many little mysterious things that like we still don't, I mean, we just don't know much about him. And one of the other notes is like, when he is talking to Vel, I don't think he is, but maybe in a pseudo kind of way, he kind of like almost acts like he's her father, which is interesting. Like he almost kind of has like this like kind of intense father, like, when I don't know if that just means that like he has known her for a long time. I don't know if that's just kind of the way the personality he is, or if they are actually related somehow. And to be honest, I'm kind of blanking on a little bit of their, because we will get more scenes with them in the future episodes, which I'm excited for.
Yeah.
But there's so much mystery surrounding Luthen, and that is just one of my favorite things about him. And I think what makes this so great, and I think it's not necessarily necessary to what's happening in this story, but I do hope eventually we get a little bit of the mystery to crack, to reveal itself.
Right. He's a very intriguing character, because especially in the arcs preceding this, like especially the monologue where he's talking to Lonnie, his iconic scene in the show. Like he says so much about how he has given up so much, burned away so much of who he is, that he has nothing left. He has no further desires other than for the rebellion to work, or to die attempting to make it work. And yet this thing that I had noticed this time around was that even though he gives this Kyber crystal to Cassian as a down payment, he says he says more than once, "I want this back," and whether it's slight manipulation to make sure that Cassian sticks around or doesn't like backstab him or whatever, or this thing is actually important to him in more ways than like he lets on. And I know that a lot of people saw it and they were originally like, "Oh my god, he's a Jedi." I could see it, but I don't want him to be. Really don't.
What would be more believable of him? I do think he does have this hidden spiritual side to him, but I don't think that necessarily makes him a Jedi. And what would be most interesting is if he was from a culture of Force-sensitive people that were entirely wiped out because of the Empire, similar to the Lasan, with Zeb's people, where they're inherently Force-sensitive. And it's like, there's a layering here where we get almost throughout the entirety of these 3 episodes, even if it's in one line of dialogue, we get almost everybody's background in the Aldhani heist. Lieutenant Gorn, he fell in love with a Donnie woman, and he lost the promotion, and then he lost her, and that's why he's doing this. He's been on Aldhani for 7 years.
Yeah.
Cinta, her entire family was killed by stormtroopers. Terramin, he was a stormtrooper. Like, and I think he might have been even involved in some of the stuff. We even get some stuff with Skeen, which ends up being a lie, which I think Skeen as a character and his dynamic is super interesting. And so Tony Gilroy, I know he knows what his backstory is, and I don't think we'll get a flashback. Although, I mean, listen, a full episode of like a Luthen-oriented episode would be amazing. I do think we will get some, like, with his speech, the layering is there, and I do think eventually that is going to come about, because it just depends on whether Luthen is going to make it or not. But yeah, like there is this intensity about him, but yet there is still some sort of cultural, spiritual appreciation, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about this and I just forgot about it, but my brain just made either a completely stupidly outrageous or genius connection. I just remembered that there is someone else with the name Rael in Star Wars, which is Rael Averross.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna say no. Cause like that could be like, wow. Like, cause
you
like,
think that like it could be him potentially?
If it was, I wouldn't be upset, and I could see it happening. I think that, like, that feels like reasonable motivation to have that kind of, like, gruff, regretful nature of not being there to step up to the plate when he was needed most, and then wanting to make a rebellion that rises up against the Empire.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the case, really.
Right.
But it's a funny connection, you know?
I mean, at the very least, we have people who have like the same names in Star Wars, so it's not like, oh, just because people have the same last name that they're immediately related. But at the same time, even down to like, I mean, it'd be crazy lore if like Luthen took like. I have a hard time believing Luthen's name really is Luthen. Like,
for sure.
I mean, even down to like the very beginning of episode 4, he tells Cassie, and he's like, pick a name, choose a name, like because you can't be. So I'm like, okay, Luthen's probably not his name either, because like to him to be, I mean, I don't think he ever says his name is Luthen to Cassian. Like, I think the only person who says Luthen's name is Mon Mothma, and of course, like, she says that out in the open. So like, I doubt like.
I really don't think he would have mentioned his name to Cassian at all.
Yeah.
Because he's only like banking on him a little bit.
Yeah.
For as long as he needs him. And back
Cassian
to like
is like an investment to him. He's like let's test, like, again, like a lot of these is like testing the waters, and even down to the moment with like, well, we'll get to Cassian in a little bit, because I have some interesting things to talk about him, and specifically his parallels to Skeen. But yeah, Luthen, he's just great, dude. He's just so awesome.
He's really cool, and I really am excited. I'm very excited to see what season 2 has in store for him.
Oh my gosh,
very excited to see his death scene. I said crying, we'll just see where that goes. I think it would be really great if he had a really large part to play regarding the events of Rogue One, other than his recruitment of Cassian. I think that could be really cool, just to see him begin those chain of events. Because as far as I see it, like, he is one of those top tier individuals within the rebellion. You know, when I think of that, when I say like top tier, I think like just those who helped create the rebellion. I think like kind of Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and Saw Gerrera and now I think Luthen. I think like those are the chief 4. Of course, Leia kept it going, right? But Bail and Mon were like, and Saw and Luthen seemed to be like of the first.
Yep.
And speaking of Mon Mothma, she seems to be one of the only people that can put Luthen in his place. Because like he does that thing that he does, like how you had mentioned that he sounds like a father. I feel like he kind of sounds that way to everybody, because he's always kind of telling everybody what to do according to his plan and how he wants things to go out. When he starts saying that to Mon Mothma, like originally she kind of like she's backing down a little bit, but then she just says like, don't you lecture me about vulnerability. You know, like I am, out of everyone, I am the one that is most at risk here. I have put everything like into this, so don't tell me how the stakes are. I know how they are. And then Luthen's just like, my bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that, I'm very interested to see where this goes. Hopefully we'll hear more about his character. If we don't, I think it adds to the mystery anyway.
Yeah,
it's not entirely necessary. But yeah. Speaking about... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, so I was going to say, speaking about, like, mysteries of characters, I completely forgot that Cassian was on Mimban for a time.
Yeah, I have that in my notes, that he said he fought on Mimban when he was 16, although Luthen kind of puts him in his place. He was like, you came in as a cook.
Yeah.
Which is like...
You came in as a cook, and you fought for a little bit, and then you only survived because you ran.
Yeah.
It just made me... It made me wonder... Were Cassian and Han on Mimban at the same time?
Yeah. How? Yeah. Well, no, that's... Well... Yeah, I guess it depends on how long Han was on Mimban, because...
I guess it depends on how long Mimban was as a campaign.
Well, I mean, I think based on the age, Cassian is in his, like... Well, I don't know. That is interesting, because Solo, I think, takes place around, like, 9 or 10 BBY, and this is 14. So I don't think so based on time. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm gonna be like, there's no way. There definitely could be a chance. The timeline is kind of weird, but yeah, that's another little like layering to Cassian. I'm like his backstory, because I just was kind of under the indication that I'm like, okay, like he grew up on Ferrix, but I'm like, no, he started when he was like 13 until he was like 16 or something. Like they say something like earlier as well that like when he was like 13, he like stole a ship or something like that. So like maybe, but I mean,
he went to like a correctional facility. Yeah.
So like is the impression that like, so he fought for the Empire when he was 16?
Well, it says what he said was that, you know, he realized that, you know, quote, like we were fighting ourselves.
Yeah.
And so he was fighting something. And if he has cause to hate the Empire because he was made to fight himself, then I'm assuming he was probably put into a correctional facility. And then a big part about the Empire is like voluntary or involuntary conscripts. They probably put juveniles onto the Mimban like front. Wouldn't doubt that at all. That's like, it's not really how it went for Han, but it's kind of similar.
I mean, even down to like those the Imperial cadets that we see with Ezra and those kids in Rebels, like those kids are like 13, 14, so it'd be like the exact same age.
Yeah, they literally, I mean, they would just like funnel them out there. That's why the Empire had so many numbers, is because a lot of them were involuntary, which is why like I feel bad about seeing stormtroopers die every time. Yeah. Yeah, so it was some more characterization for Cassian as well, because it just shows us that like he's always been kind of a troublemaker, and like he even seems like guilty with the revelation that he ran away. He's like always looking out for himself. And it just gives more credence to like how much the people of Ferrix, you know, they love him, but they know that he's always up to something. It's like you're always getting into trouble. You always do this.
Yep. Well, so I think that this is a good point, because to talk about Cassian, and specifically, I think who is like kind of what I would call the man in the mirror type character, because he's not exactly a foil. They're kind of similar in a way, actually very similar in a way. Maybe he's a little bit more extreme, but Skeen is, in my opinion, a type of character that is supposed to show what Cassian kind of could be like or seems like to others. And I think the moment when, so we get that with that final interaction, I'm kind of jumping to episode 6, but obviously we get a lot of interactions with Cassian, Nimik, and Skeen, where it seems like Skeen is pretty close to Nimik, but it's interesting because Nimik is like, he's younger and he is all in on the rebellion, but later on we get the revelation. Well, first it's this whole thing when Skeen's like, oh, my brother, he was a tree farmer, and they flooded his land, and like and that was kind of his little backstory, only to later on be like, I don't have a brother, you know, like it was all a ruse. And he says, you know, he's like, oh, I'm a rebel, it's just me against everyone else. And And so that is kind of how Cassian starts in this show. It's just him against everybody else. And I think when Skeen says that, obviously this is a big red flag just from the practicality of the situation. But I do think part of the reason why Cassian killed Skeen was because he realized he was like he saw part of that in himself, and he took it out immediately. He was like this guy's a danger, and like what Cassian had been doing prior was him against everybody else. And I think it was kind of a wake-up call. Yes, immediately he does take off, but he doesn't take more, like he doesn't steal. He's like, I just want my cut and I'm gone. And I think he more so panics because he's like, this is going to look really bad, you know, like this is going to look like and even Vel is like, I don't believe you killed Skeen, you know, because you're holding them at gunpoint. And I think, again, it scares him, not only because it's like this looks bad on him, but also like what Skeen is saying maybe is hitting a little too close to home later on. I think he's kind of forced to, like, it's the progression of him waking up. It's of him, you know, applying himself, focusing himself, and that's what Luthen wants, is for him to really focus himself into one heavy hitting cause as opposed to just doing these little things, and him not just being out for himself, just being this rebellious character, but to channel his rebellion into something. And so, yeah, dude, I think it's Eben Moss Bachrach is his name, the guy who plays Skeen, also playing Ben Grimm in the new Fantastic Four movie, among other, he's in a lot of other things. Dude, he's one of my favorite, like, not that I think, like, I'm like, oh man, he's just such a cool character. Like, I love his introduction, and I really just love a lot of these side characters on Aldhani as well. And it makes it it just makes it worse because the way they die in this is just so, it's just so abrupt, dude. It's
really unceremonious. It really is. I agree. I was really sad, especially when like Lieutenant Gorms died, because I was like getting really attached to him. I really liked his story, and he gets there's no moment to mourn. He gets shot, he hits the ground, and he's gone.
That's it. Same thing with Terriman. Terriman runs across.
Exact same thing with Terriman. Maybe 10 seconds later. And Nemec, of course, like Nemec is just a really terrible loss. Like he. With such little screen time, one of my new, like, very beloved characters.
Yes.
And of course, absolutely kind of the spark for Cassian in terms of his beliefs towards the rebellion. I mean, even like, Skeen was a very, very intriguing character. Honestly, again, this is now the third time that Cassian has shot someone with added shock value. So, and just more like credit to what you've been saying, it's all kind of relative to his character. When he kills the rebel agent in Rogue One, it's only when he knows that rebel agent is going to get caught. When he kills the Corpo at the beginning of Andor, it is only when the Corpo suggests we can go in together, aka when Cassian is like going to be found out, he's going to be caught. He only kills Skeen. He only kills Skeen after Skeen mentions, you know, with that amount of credits, like, I'll pretend I never knew you. It was only when the slight idea that something could be traced back to Cassian is like that. It's only then that Cassian takes care of it. And one could say that it is self-serving, but another could say that, like, he's trying to protect anything that could maybe trace back to him or Marva. And so, like, and also Cassian knew exactly who he was dealing with as soon as he heard, I lied about my brother, I'm only out for myself, we should split it and go. I mean, like, I felt kind of bad that Skeen had shown so much concern for Nemec, but what if he was just trying to do that so that he could find a moment to get away with all of this stuff, right? We really won't know. We really won't know. But Cassian saw that, and he knew that if he waited any longer, that, like, if he said no, then Skeen would have, like, he would have had to watch his back at that whole point from then on. Gosh.
And there's a moment when, like, when he kills him, like, it's almost like Cassian, like, he kind of seemed shocked with himself that he did it, because almost kind of like, why should I care, but also to protect himself sort of thing. And he's like,
yeah,
here I go again, you know, like, it's another one of the things. As soon as I think I'm out of it, something like this happens. But man, I like, those moments are some of my favorite. And there's like, I know some people are not hot on Cassian because they're like, he's a little too serious, or he's a little too stoic for their liking, and I don't know. I think there's just so much more nuance. I rewatched his opening scene in Rogue One when he does kill that guy. I'm blanking on his name, but the guy with the injured arm. It's because I'm just like, man, the reason I rewatched it, and it just kind of fit in with rewatching these episodes last night, was Diego Luna said going into season 2, he was like, you will, when you rewatch, he's encouraging people, like, as soon as you finish Andor season 2, watch Rogue One, because he said you'll see it in a completely different light. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, does that just mean like you're just gonna appreciate Cassian more, or is it gonna be like, is there like more to like the beginning of the story that we don't? I'm so pumped, and this like just Diego again. Once again, I have to just say, Diego Luna, Cassian is.
No.
What?
What if Cassian is the one that has to kill Luthen? What if he has to do that? Like just imagine it. Like, something happens, maybe Luthen gets down or something like that, and then Luthen just looks at him and he's like, you have to kill me. Like, they can't trace me back. You have to do this every single time. If they find any like reason to trace it back further up the chain, you know, you have to do that. You have to take it out. I chose you because you're the kind of person to do this stuff, you know. Or God forbid, like, something happens with Luthen and like it's an unspoken agreement that Cassian has to do it.
That's what I'm thinking. Is it's just a thing of like, Cassian knows what he has to do. I mean, that's such a layering of his character, and we know that there's like, in a way, Luthen is his own rebel sect, and because they met, like, we've got the partisans, we've got the Phoenix Cell with the rebels, like, we've got all of these different ideologies that are, of course, all leading towards the greater rebellion, and Luthen is kind of his own, but like, I feel like there's got to be a reason as to why we don't know what, like, his greater inclusion in the rebellion. I mean, it is important to note, this is at the exact same time that Rebels is happening. So, like, that is all happening out there in the galaxy while Luthen and all, which is kind of funny to think about, like, like Zev and Ezra been out there, like, with their, like, hijinks, and then Cassian's like the most just...
It's, again, there's some Star Wars for everybody. Yeah. There's a stormtrooper over in Lothal going like, whoa, like waving his arms around, and then there's Luthen going, yeah, I burned my whole life for the rebellion. Well, let's I
already mentioned it earlier. I just have to put this on my notes. Perrin sucks balls. Okay, Mon Mothma's husband. He's just the worst.
If I recall correctly, it was a cultural thing. Like, they were married for cultural reasons.
Okay.
Which explains like the zero chemistry that they have. I don't know if it's said in the show or if it was said in a book or something, but I'm pretty sure the way that their culture goes is that like they were married together for like royalty reasons or whatever. And yeah, like, he sucks. He's terrible, right?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I just want to talk and like hang out with all the senators, right? And I mean, that's honestly what it became at the end of the Republic before Palpatine showed up anyway. It was just a bunch of revelry and what's the word for it? It's just like hyper consumption of leisurely things, right? They don't really care about the greater things at large.
Bro, how you gonna have Mon Mothma and fumble, bro?
Oh my god, yeah.
I love Mon Mothma.
Yeah, and it's at the point where, like, you said it earlier in the little, like, in the summary there, is that, like, her daughter is so aggressive towards her.
Yeah, and obviously it's like she's like the teenage archetype, but even I'm just like, I just feel bad. Like, it's like, and I can tell, like, it might even have to be something of like her father's doing, of kind of like almost in a weird inadvertent way, like pitting pitting her against her own mother. And yet, like, we're getting those little, I mean, like, Perrin, he, like, has that whole dinner, and he's, like Sly Moore, and all these just terrible people are gonna be there, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that has to just, it's like your Thanksgiving dinner, but just, like, every day, dude, of, like, being around people that, like, dude, the zinger she gives him about Gourmand, when you know that the trade routes got cut off and they're gonna starve, and he's like, oh, like how will they feel after we're eating our third course or something like that. I'm like, dude, get him. Oh my gosh.
She's talking to him in the car, and like she just says something that clearly gets him, and then he's just like, what's the driver's name? And she tells him, and then he's like, take the express route, please, because he doesn't want to be in the car with her for any longer than he should be, right? It's I'm really curious as to how that is gonna go when she has to flee Coruscant, right? I mean, is there gonna be a moment of like he helps her out, or is he gonna rat her out? You know, I don't know.
I hope he gets killed, bro. I hope he's done.
I hope he dies. Like, I hope he's out of here.
Can you hook Mon Mothma up and do what you did to Tech and just you know, knock Perrin? I will forgive you, maybe forgive you a little bit about the Tech incident if Perrin is just out of here. You know?
Dude, Saw would you wouldn't even have to ask Saw. If Saw met that guy, just a boom.
Say less. I want to talk. There's a little. I put a little note here, and I know we love to talk about the
hedonism. That's the word I was thinking of.
There you go.
Sorry, yeah.
We love to talk about hedonism. We love to talk about the Force and how it permeates and works through the galaxy. In my opinion, the Eye of Aldhani, in a way, is the Force giving a gift. In this greater act of the rebellion, it is the light fighting back, and even though it's happened every 3 years, the way they describe it and how it even is this like cultural, spiritual moment for the Dani people, even if they're not Force sensitive, the whole act is so I don't know, angelic, so beautiful, so just ethereal that it feels greater than the physical galaxy.
Right.
By the way, my dad is cutting the grass right now, so people are listening and figure out why in the background that's what you hear. Now you know. Anyway, yes, and I don't know. That was just something that came to mind because I know we always talk about how the Force even is acting in ways that for people who aren't Force sensitive, this feels kind of like I put here. It almost feels like the Force is giving a gift. I
think like you're very right with that. I think the Eye is like really charged with like the cosmic force type of energy, right? But I mean, honestly, like it feels like the mere idea that they would be able to lift that cargo ship through the Eye feels kind of like a force-based feat in and of itself.
Nice roll.
Whoever it was that was kind of like channeling that, or whether it did it on its own, not sure. But it's these, as it has been said before, it's these like small acts of rebellion, like and these small acts of victory that lead up to one big victory. Essentially, eventually the Death Star exploding, eventually the Empire being overthrown, right? Eventually Palpatine being thrown off into a reactor shaft, right? So
there's a line that Skeen says, which is just, I mean, it's in the title of episode 5, which is the axe forgets but the tree remembers. Yeah, which is just such a great line when it comes to the Empire and who they are oppressing as a whole, of like even down. And it's funny because the line is also like, because it has, I think, for trees, because his brother, his fake brother, was allegedly the story that he made was a tree farmer. But it's interesting that, again, with Skeen's motive, that he pops out that banger of a line. Like there's so many good lines in this show. I have all of these quotes of there was another one that you mentioned earlier. You were talking about when about Cassian being like, you'll like basically like he'll die for this cause.
Yeah.
There's another one, and even though it's kind of more towards the end of this arc, but it still is greater to Cassian's character as a whole, where Cassian says, "I'm here to win and walk away," and Skeen says, "Wouldn't that be lovely?"
Yeah.
It's like people like them don't necessarily get to do that. You know, they don't have that luxury. They're not everybody is Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or Princess Leia, and one could argue that even they didn't, like, they got to win for a little while, but then eventually, like, that the Empire or whatever you want to call it comes back. But it's those acts that always make the tree remember. It's just it's just great. It's really great, man.
Well, I mean, when you think about kind of like Skeen's words, like it does kind of call you to consider his character, right? Like I'm not going to say that he's inherently a bad person, right? I think that he really just said the wrong thing to the wrong guy, you know? Like, would taking all of this, like all of that money and running away be a bad thing to do morally? Absolutely, you know?
Yeah.
But like Skeen was no like he was no Palpatine, right? I think like if you want to think of Cassian as like another shade of Han, Skeen is like a darker shade of that, right? Yep. And like another variance of that. You can only go self-serving so far to a certain point. And Skeen just made a mistake. And kind of what bothers me is that one of the last entries that Nemec had made in his manifesto was like the impact of mercenaries on the rebellion at large. And Skeen technically serves that same role, right? He still served a purpose. It was still with his help that they were able to get that out. And I think that definitely shouldn't be understated. It's just kind of another casualty of war at that point. That's what happens. You really forget how I mean, like the Star Wars galaxy like is beautiful, right? It's very vast. And when you think of like its technological advances and its cultural impacts, like Coruscant, like it looks really, really nice, but there are so many individuals that have to literally scrape for everything that they've had. All of the tattoos that Skeen has, like the ones that Cassian recognized, I don't think he put them on like just for a part of the story. He was telling the truth, you know? Maybe there was still a part of him that was kind of a good guy, but like he was still looking out for himself. And that's...
Do we know what those tattoos are? He has like 3, I think. I have that in my notes.
I think they had to do with like the juvenile correctional facilities that then translated into like Imperial Core based stuff.
Okay.
Kind of similar to man, why am I blanking on his character? It's like oh my gosh, he's a character in Mandalorian. He
Bill
was
Burr's character?
Yeah. I'm just blanking on his name, but like, it was kind of like similar in that way. I don't know.
Why would you do this to me? I know.
I'm sorry. His name. I'm sorry. Hold on. I can look it up. Just start talking to Stolfo.
Because he wasn't a stormtrooper. He was an Imperial sharpshooter.
He's really Mayfield.
Mayfield, yes. Okay, dude, I love characters like that, man. Those. I don't know, like truly, the Mayfield in Mando feels very Andor coded in the way of like
he does.
I like that, and the whole thing with that one Imperial that he kills. Talking about like burning Khan. Joe Chill from Batman Begins. That stuff. I'm like, you just, that sort of stuff just hits so hard. And I think that like it makes sense why Skeen did tell Cassian like what he did, because he's like, well, he was the one of the person who, you know, exposed him for being a mercenary. Well, he's just like, okay, well, if this guy's a mercenary, then all he wants is the money, you know? But like, I think what he didn't expect is that like there probably was more to Cassian than he expected, and that's why Cassian did what he did. Yes, Cassian still took his part of the money, but he didn't take more then he didn't bite off more than he could chew, you know? Like he realized what they sacrificed. He gave the Kyber Crystal pendant back to Vel. He's like, give this back to Luthen. And he was even hesitant to take the manifesto, but like all those chains of events is like what led him into the greater rebellion. Oh yeah, I do say, he says, I forgot I have the notes here. They say crate head is one of the tattoos.
Crate head,
like a crate dragon. One is like by the hand, and then he says the planet is like Sipo, S-I-P-O. So that was those are interesting. I'm like, crate head. I'm like, I mean, are there crate dragons on other planets, or is that just like I know in Legends, like crate dragons were kind of a more permeating creature. But I don't think we probably know much about it. Anything?
So the by the hand tattoo, Cassian had claimed to have become familiar with it while he was at a youth center on Scipio. Or Sipo, is that what it is?
Yeah. Scipio's another planet, though. I was curious if that's actually what it was.
Yeah. Let's see. There's a whole article about it. Try to see if I can scan through it real fast.
Okay.
Crate head. That's interesting. Crate head is a relic of the Tusken Raiders, who are said to preserve the head of a crate dragon. This could possibly be a reference to Knights of the Old Republic, and the barcode could identify the rebel as a prisoner on Tatooine. And it could be a reference to the Hand of Thrawn. As Cassian says, they built a lot of cages, implying a sort of unrest brewing behind the shadows. The Hand of Thrawn, its structure resembling a literal hand, was a fortress built on the planet of Narawan and served as a hub of operations for the Empire of the Hand. Yeah, I don't know.
What?
It doesn't. I don't know. It's weird that like Cassian kind of identifies all of them.
Yeah. Is this? You know what it feels like?
Scrappers Guild barcode on Cal's arm, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. And I what also is just kind of a more simple way of this, which is fun, and it's probably what people felt about when they first saw Star Wars, was when they mentioned the Clone Wars, you know, of like a thing of like, what is that, you know? And maybe one day we will find out, but we get the impression that Skeen just comes from a rough background, you know, that he's much like Cassian, he has a troubled past as well.
Well, look, some people sometimes complain about when something is said that has no real significance, but for me, having Cassian identify a bunch of different tattoos, or like Saw talking to Luthen in one of the later episodes and mentions like all of the different rebel sects that are different, like in relation to each other, it makes the world and the galaxy feel so diverse and so lived in. And I really like that. So yeah, it's just making me want to get a tattoo, but
no, another example is when Fallen Order came out, because at the time, like, the big criminal syndicates was the Hutts, the Pikes, Black Sun, and Crimson Dawn. But then they were like, hey, here's another one. Here's the Haxion Brood, you know? And I'm like, oh, like, there's more. Like, there's cool, like, other lore building stuff. Real cool. Dude, you forget how massive the galaxy actually is. Like, pick up that new Star Wars locations book. It has an updated galaxy map. That thing, okay, like if I have the you know, you have the galaxy map in The Force and Destiny and all of those other books. Those are already very lengthy.
Yes.
The canon 100%. one is even more detailed than that. Like, it's it's insane. Like, they have it down to where it's one big page, and then it's like, oh, here's also 6 more pages of zoomed in so you can get a better look, and it's in quadrants and like a grid-based thing. And I'm like, this is what, like, listen, I love a little bit of interconnectivity. Again, Luthen's shop is a great example of that. There's things in there that you recognize: a Temple Guard mask, a Sith Stalker helmet, the Mortis tablets. But then there's other things that you've never. I don't think you see the Temple Guard helmet till another episode. Either way,
I was gonna say, like, I forgot that he had one of those.
Yeah. There's Mandalorian armor, which it pretty much just looks like Din Djarin's armor. Like it. I wonder if him and Dryden Voss would get along. Probably not.
Luthen and Dryden.
Well, they both are collectors.
I think like at a what's the word for it? At like a professional business level,
Yeah.
they'd probably go like, oh, like the Spider-Man point thing.
Yeah.
But I think Luthen would probably hate Dryden with every fiber of his being.
Yeah.
Because Dryden just kind of, he represents something that is like probably in Luthen's eyes almost worse than the Empire, which is someone that thrives off of the existence of it as opposed to actually like being a part of it.
Yeah.
And does nothing to stop it, right? So
yeah. No, I think you're complete. Those are very much foil type characters.
yeah.
I will say I am just a sucker for any time they introduce a character that is is a artifact collector, just because like as a Star Wars nerd, like Doc Ondar is one of my favorites from Galaxy's Edge. Just like to be able to go into a place and be like, you're just like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, but like every half second of like whoa, like you're able to identify like every little thing. It
gives a lot of chances to just put in some like extended universe stuff on the table. That
dude, remember like when we went to Galaxy's Edge for the first time, and I was just like, dude, there's a Sith acolyte mask up there, and you were like, it's just crazy, dude. It's awesome.
It's a cool place. Lots of cool stuff up there.
Yeah. I'm gonna look through my notes here. I do have one with Dedra. We haven't talked a whole lot about her. There is it's not a spoiler. It's seen in a trailer. There's this whole speculation that Vader might show up because there's a scene in one of the new trailers where she's like grasping. I do notice even in this first episode, she sometimes there's some moments where she seems like she's struggling with some like anxiety. And I think immediately people are thinking that she's going to be force choked by Vader, which like, listen, if that happens, am I going to say no? No. But at the same time, I do think, especially with the way the ISB infighting is with Partagaz and Blevin, and later on with Yularen, this is not a relaxed place to be. It is stressful, and I think the stress is going to build to her, and I think there's a very good chance that she's having a panic attack in that scene in season 2, because there are parts even in these episodes where if she's adjusting her crawler, it almost looks like she's trying to she's getting tense, or like she's trying to let out a breath,
Well, keep in mind, she does take like a pill in one of these episodes.
Yep.
And it doesn't mention what the pill is for. Like, you might think like, oh, like it's just some kind of stim to keep her awake through the night because she's looking through more files. She might be really nervous, and you know what?
I think so.
You are like right in that it could be a panic attack. It could also be poison. Maybe she's taking a pill and she's poisoned, Like a competitor notices that she like regularly takes this stuff, and so they're like, it might lace something that she takes. Could very well happen.
That's a good point,
that would be like a very ISB thing to do.
Yeah.
Speaking of the ISB, the scenes when they're there, like those like big meetings, really good stuff. I don't know the actor's name, but he plays a character in Game of Thrones. He's like the head ISB guy.
Okay.
He's talking to all the people. I just really
Is he the one that he's just like when Dedra's like, oh, this is what we do, and he's just like, that's correct, that's our mission statement to verbatim, and that is wrong, and he's talking, he's just like, we are in the healthcare business, like we provide cures to sickness and disease in the galaxy and blah blah. Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. The character is named Leo Partagaz. I know that. I don't remember his rank, but I do not know the actor's name. But yeah, I didn't know he was in Game of Thrones. That's awesome.
Yeah, he plays his Corliss or something like that. I don't remember the name off the top of the head, but he plays as like a excommunicated maester that Cersei employs. Really cool stuff. Qyburn, that's his name. Hi, Qyburn. He's pretty cool. But yeah, I really like his character in that just because of the way that he carries himself, and also it's very indicative of kind of the Empire's mission statement as a whole. I think that I had said this in our last episode, but showing the lens of the ISB is a really great way to show us, like, yeah, there was a lot of people in the Empire that truly believed in what they were doing as, like, the right thing to do, and not from a way that they're going like, oh, we are morally bad, but more in a way of, this is the system that I know, I believe it works, and I'm going to do my best at it. You know, that's what happens when you're kind of brainwashed, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just, this was kind of the thing that, the original Battlefront games did so well, was that they show you what it's like to be kind of the person on the ground in these big events of Star Wars. Because realistically, like, all of these things would not have happened. Like, Luke wouldn't have been able to blow up the Death Star had the X-Wings not been assembled, had the plans not been found, had the rebellion not been able to survive, you know, yada, 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 yada. So I really like seeing it through a very civilized, not civilized, but like civilian ground level lens. Yeah. Really good stuff.
No, I truly didn't think especially on second watch, was going to enjoy watching the ISB Dedra stuff as much as I have, but like truly I enjoy every scene that she's in. She kind of captivates the scene. I mean, of course, other than the Partagas, who is also great. But yeah, like I kind of slept on her character a little bit. So like and she's also like really witty, like those scenes when she's kind of going up against Blevin and trying to get hold of the Ferric situation of, she's just kind of snappy. I'm like, like
she's very Imperial coded. Like she's just the kind that the Empire needs.
Yeah.
Or
and even
like
then
wants.
they don't even respect her. You know, they're like, because like she's been there for a less amount of time. They're like, yeah, whatever. I do think she's going to rise up very quickly. Granted, I think she will also probably get a pretty unceremonious end. Most of these characters probably will.
So. Yeah, I think it's I think that's probably going to happen for her. I wouldn't be surprised if you know, you also kind of, I feel like the same could happen with Cyril, where like you're given a moment where like they kind of start to understand things through that lens, but it's always too late. And I think that's the point. I think it's not meant to show us Dedra and Cyril and go like, man, they suck so much. I think it's to show them and go like, this is what happens on both sides of these sorts of situations. Like everybody's getting messed up, even if the people don't know it, you know? Like it ruins all sides of everybody's lives.
100%.
And in that sense, like I mean, I don't know if the same is for you, but like when you're watching like Dedra, in a weird way, like you like seeing her succeed through this bureaucracy, right? Because you're kind of rooting for her. Like she's trying really hard. You're like, oh, like you get that Blevin guy. Like he's such a S-eater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously, like you don't want the true mission of the Empire to succeed. And that always kind of, that intrigues me because I love it when you get to see different perspectives than just the one you want to see, right?
Yeah.
It helps you understand characters and their motives. So, yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah, when you root for one character, it is at the expense of the other, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Which is pretty cool, because like none of them, maybe other than like Cassian and Mon Mothma and I guess Luthen, they all are on kind of the same side, but at the same time, like getting these nuanced sects of rebellion makes it feel like there's some, it's not just like rebels, Empire. It's like there's people with their own agendas. And I mean, even down like with the whole Skeen rant we went on of like, yeah, he's a rebel, but like he's just him against everybody else, you know. He's just trying to get paid, you know. Like
simple man trying to make his way in the universe.
Right. Boba Fett is kind of the prime example of that. Why people liked Boba Fett so much was because it was like, oh, yeah, he's working for the Empire, but like he's not with the Empire, you know. He just like it's fun. It's cool to see the contrast and the nuance and things, and so I'm just really excited to see, I mean, these next 6 episodes rewatching, because I truly have I've always liked Andor. I'm just enjoying it even more so this time around. And it's just such a good show, dude. Like I just appreciate it more and more every day. And I'm really glad that we're doing this like kind of rewatch because I think it's just going to make. I mean, like I'm just gonna go ahead and say like we probably might as well, after Andor season 2 ends, go straight into a Rogue One retrospective because I think
100%.
and I think everybody's gonna be doing that, is going back into Rogue One with these new thoughts in mind and kind of having this full part of the of the story. I don't really have any other major thoughts other than some small little just like fun notes. Do you have any other like big broad things that you wanted to talk about in these 3 episodes?
I think I wanted to mention that because like we had talked about it in your summary, but Cyril's mom, like this was, it's weird. The first time I watched the show, I was like, man, like Cyril is like not nice to his mom, like kind of a stickler. But now I'm watching it and I'm like, she's exactly the reason why he ended up this way. Like she's really not great. She holds him to such a high standard and then really loves kicking him while he's down, sort of thing. And he's, man, what was he said something like, he's like, I heard you're part of it. Hard to miss, you know? Like I love hearing him being like just so kind of like he's no longer in a position of authority and he's just kind of like moping.
One of my notes was that Cyril in these 3 episodes is the embodiment of the sadly go-karts Jesse meme from Breaking Bad. Like I'm not kidding. 75% of these episodes he's just like, and I get it. I understand why. Bro had to go back. He lost everything to go back to Coruscant with his nagging mom who keeps force feeding him cereal and saying, "Get a job, bozo." Like,
so like your uncle, like I'm really gonna need to talk to him. Like he's gonna be so disappointed.
It's just like, you don't even talk to him. Like what are you talking about? Yeah, like, and it you can see the way he is because it's like she says like something about like an open invite is no invite at all, which like. And he was like, you could have come visit anytime you wanted. I had a spare bedroom.
I had a spare room, you know? She's like, why are you, like, you're slouching, you know? If you're, what she says something that, like, if he doesn't conduct himself well all the time, then it's just a complete waste, right?
Right.
And then it'll cut and Cassian is like killing somebody and Mon Mothma's planning a rebellion thing and Dedra is trying to investigate war crimes and then Cyril's eating cereal just looking at it. It's very it's really funny to watch his story. And again, like kind of the similar thing that I just said about Dedra. Like you see Cyril like that and you feel bad. You know, like, I want things to be better for him. Do I want him to rise in the corpo structure? No. But but I want him to, you know, make something good for himself. And instead he falls in love with Dedra pretty much, right? So...
Dude, we'll get to that. We'll get to that at some point.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, no, I definitely... If there was one thing to, like, critique on like I guess like the story or like if people were like this isn't interesting, like Cyril's stuff is not immediately interesting, but also like at least in these 3 episodes, but again it's such a small part of the show that like it doesn't really bring it down for me at all. It's just kind of like he's got a long game story happening. Of course the stuff that I'm most interested in is with Cassian and Luthen. They're just like the most coolest, compelling characters.
100.
And by the way, I just have to say, Cassian, I mentioned it last week. Cassian's pistol, the MW20 Briar pistol, sounds so cool, dude. Like when he's shooting it, listen. The sound design in this show, off the charts, so good, dude. From the blasters to like all the mechanical sounds, specifically when they're in like the valley on their camp and they're like dodging this TIE fighter and you just kind of hear like the and then all of a sudden it'll dip behind a hill and you don't hear it anymore and then just like and it's like they're covering their ears with how loud it is, you know?
Guys, that was really good. I don't know if anybody like look, but people should talk about this in the comments. That sounded really weird. Yeah, like how good that was with like the flyby.
I remember. Thanks, I appreciate it. I remember when I did my campaign, I did a TIE fighter sound for one, and my friends were like, "That was like, it's like such an iconic sound."
Grayson does so the cool. TIE fighter sounds for Lucasfilm.
Yeah, they call me. Matt Wood calls me into the booth and he's like, "Listen, man, we got some more TIE fighter sounds. Like, we don't got enough." He's like, "This is some special TIE fighter. Could you go like a little bit lower with it? Hey, this one's got like more engines. Can you kind of put a little warble in it? You know?" I'm like, "I got you, Matt."
So, speaking of the TIE fighter, though, one singular TIE fighter has never been so terrifying in Star Wars before. I think, like, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this before in kind of like reviews of this episode. But really, like, TIE fighters have always been pretty cool, but like they're like plastic in the space battles, But seeing them from a soldier's perspective of someone on the ground, just one singular TIE fighter flying past, it's terrifying, it's loud. I mean, imagine like being on the ground as a rebel soldier fighting amidst the war and just seeing that fly overhead. That would be so loud. I would be so terrified, you know? So I love the way that they show that, and I really want to see more of that. I want to see the Empire be more and more terrifying, which hopefully we see with the Gorman Massacre. Not in a way of like Tarkin just dropping a Star Destroyer on people.
Dude, that is crazy, by the way.
Yeah. Every time it's mentioned, like everyone talks about it like it's so serious, and yes, it's a terrible thing, but it feels so outlandish. Like Tarkin's just like, "Oh, you may drop the ship when ready," like it feels just really boop. I don't know, it just feels dumb. So if it was like an actual bloody massacre as opposed to just, "I'm gonna park my ship right here, and if you're not gonna move, that's on you." Sorry, I don't.
So
some people
ridiculous.
Probably don't even know what we're talking about. But
Legends Gorman Massacre. Tarkin smushed some people with a Star Destroyer.
Tarkin parallel parks aggressively.
And highly speculative because of how much Mon Mothma is talking about Gorman and even in Rebels, like that's like a big part of the EU and in canon they mention it in Rebels. It's highly believed that it will happen in season 2, which I'm 100% certain it will. I think those shots that we see with those troopers and stuff is that.
I think Tony Gilroy has like all but confirmed it. Like mentioned
you're
like
right.
Gorman by name, like verbatim, like, yeah, this is gonna happen. It's gonna be dedicated to a few episodes.
Yeah.
So who knows what'll happen there.
The TIE fighter thing, I gotta bring it up. I think it also puts into perspective why the TIE Defender program, take your adjective, would have been so terrifying, because yes, you are right.
Yeah.
The TIE fighters in the grand scheme of the Imperial Navy are paper. They do not have shields. They are really fast. They are meant to be dispatched in large fleets, and they are cannon fodder, Tis the way of the Empire. The TIE Defender was a very compelling ship that was faster, stronger, more armed, and that is why Thrawn wanted it to succeed. And I do think, because we see in season 2 trailer, Cassian stealing what I believe is a TIE Avenger, which is another type of TIE fighter. There's like a shot where he's like spinning around and he's like shooting all these storms, which it just looks so cool, by the way.
I love space stuff.
Yeah, dude. I just have such an appreciation for that sort of stuff now, and I think this is another one of those incidents where it's like another example of
another one
of the Empire. Trying to actually be a little bit more tactical about what kind of fleet they have, and yet the rebellion is systematically take that out of the picture to where they're just stunted by having cheap little paper ball TIE fighters, But again, if you think about how scary it was for these 6 people in an encampment in a valley with one TIE fighter, imagine if there was just one that was better, dude. Like that's just...
Yep.
The equivalent is like, okay, the Millennium Falcon is like a Rottweiler, and a TIE fighter is a Chihuahua, but, a TIE fighter, if you're one of those 6 people, is like a really big Chihuahua, like a gigantic Chihuahua.
but Palpatine's like, his way of doing things, he's like, okay, I get it, but what if there was 100 chihuahuas, you know? There would be a lot of them.
That's like that question of like, would you want to fight one giant like duck or like T-Rex sized duck or 100 duck-sized T-Rexes or something? And it's like,
that's just piranhas at that point. Come on, you know?
I mean, it's true. That's why. In the same way, kind of stormtroopers. I will say there's two little not like anything crazy, but I do like seeing that the Empire, at least on Aldhani, they don't even have stormtroopers. They just have Imperial Army troopers. Like those guys are less than stormtroopers.
They're just guys.
They're just underpaid dudes that still kind of suck. Especially when they talk about how much the Donnie people like the stench. Dude, there's a scene with Lieutenant Gorn, and it's before you find out about why he's doing what he's doing, but it's that communications guy, and he's just like, oh, they stink or whatever, and he just kind of like his face is turned away, so he can't really do anything. But like then later on, you realize like why that gets to him, and there's a really great line later on. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but now I am, where he's talking to, I think it's the like Commandant, the one that has the heart attack.
I know what you're saying.
He says, I think he says something about like 7 years with you. Yeah, 7 years serving you. I deserve worse than that. Because he's like, you'll hang for this, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's just so witty about it and just immediately gets back to work. By the way, before I bring up my last little notes, there's a couple moments that I love in these episodes that are like, I'm just gonna say, out of these 3 episodes, what is your favorite specific moment or scene, if you had to have one?
Oh, that's really.
I have an inkling of probably what your favorite is, but you may not even be aware of it. But it might not be that one. I don't know.
It's really hard to say right now. I really like, at the very least, just off the top of my head, my gut instinct is like when they're flying through the eye, and like Cassian doesn't trust what Nemec is saying, but like Nemec like has a stim in him, and he's like yelling climb, you know,
climb!
And Cassian's like, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna die, right? But he just keeps yelling climb, and then like dive, and you like it's a very good,
so hype,
high stakes moment.
It's I on that note, and this ties into probably my favorite scene. These episodes, this show, for me at least, and I'm sure for you, creates the coolest hype moments for moments that you wouldn't think are hype. Traditionally, when you think of like hype Star Wars moments, it's the Luke Skywalker hallway scene, you know? It's Mando coming back. Yet this show can have one little moment and you can be like, yes, dude. And I can tell you the exact moment is at the end of episode 6 when the music is swelling.
I was about to say, like, I know what my favorite one is.
Yeah, it's just, and also it's a great meme reaction. I won't lie. It's so great. Also
Guys, I send it to Grayson all the time whenever something good happens.
When it got to, and in that moment, I knew what was coming, and at the same time, I went like and then it just cuts to black as he's laughing, and just kind of gives that sigh. I was like, yes, dude! Like I just get so hyped, and I know I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, and I'll bring it up again. But when the next arc we're doing is the Narkina 5 prison arc. Once again, one way out in those moments, you just cannot help but go, yes, dude! Like this is awesome. And another great moment, kind of maybe not on the same level, but is when Skeen, they go into the vault thing. It's one of my favorite meme reactions.
Let's go! Yeah.
So good, dude. I love it. It's so funny.
Yes, I had, you saw it like over my face before you said it, that like I knew that my favorite scene was when Luthen laughs, and it's because like earlier in that episode, I think it was either in that episode or the one before, I don't know. I think her name starts with a K, but she works with him. But essentially, she says it all ends tomorrow or something, and he says, or it's just beginning, or something like that. And there's a lot of nuance in this scene where he comes to the realization that it worked. Like he laughs, which is probably one of his most genuine happy emotions for the first time. But as soon as he stops, he sighs, and then he looks just as stressed again, because he knows it really has begun now.
Yep.
Because this is the definitive moment that kind of the rebellion is like becomes a big problem in the galaxy. And that, like, it's such a hype moment because this is really when it begins that snowball effect that it just starts rolling. Perfect moment. I think another key moment that I really liked in this arc was one of the last talks that Cassian has with Nemec before they begin the heist, was that Nemec says something along the lines of, like, you think we should just sit here and be thankful for what's given to us? And Cassian looks at him and he says, like, do I look thankful to you? Like, look at me, do I really look thankful to you? Diego Luna's performance is really good as Cassian, guys.
So good,
really good. That whole thing is just laced with perfect character moments. This whole show, that's what Andor does very well, is it's very character centric.
My last note is just in all caps as soon as it cut to black is, this show is peak. It's just so good, dude.
I can't wait for season 2, man.
Gosh.
Every episode of Andor, I'm not going to say it makes me feel like good in a happy kind of way, but it makes me feel so good as like a Star Wars fan kind of way.
Yes.
Because you and I especially, but like a lot of fans that really grew up with Star Wars, watching the rebellion kind of form and succeed, especially in contemporary times, just makes you go like, yes, you know, like you feel kind of fired up and ready to go, you know?
Right.
So it's very inspiring. I love this show, man. I really do.
It is so poignant. It is so perfect. It is just a masterclass in not just television, but in Star Wars television. And
S tier.
I remember the last thing I'll say before we hop into our ritual chat pack is that but when I did my Star Wars campaign, one of my friends, he'd seen the Star Wars movies and everything, but he kind of wanted to immerse himself into Star Wars, and I was like, listen, I'm like, I could tell you to go watch Clone Wars or go watch The Mandalorian. I was like, but he is a history teacher, and he did a lot of political science stuff in college. I was like, watch Andor.
Yeah.
Watch Andor. And I've probably said this story before. And when he finished this arc specifically, he texted me and he was just like, dude, that was absolutely incredible, and there's 6 more episodes. And I was like, I know, dude, it's insane. And he texted me like a week later, and he was just like, dude, the prison arc, insane. And he just told me, he was like, it's so good. And now it is a personal goal of mine that I would love to make a story or a campaign as at the level of grit and depth and seriousness and high stakes as this. I think an Age of Rebellion campaign like this would just hit hard. And it's just like, I think this show opens the doors for so many new types of fans and kind of what kind of Star Wars they like. And I think pretty much all Star Wars fans like the core essence of the movies, but again, you get your own little niche of everything. And so, it's insane when you're watching this to be like, I remember when this episode came out, and I was like, we're only halfway through this season right now. That's insane, dude.
It is, I'm not trying to say this as like a number one Glazer, right? Because like, I don't like to give something so much praise when it feels undeserving. It is deserving in Andor. It really is. It is a riveting experience as not only like a I don't know, like just cinema fan and film fan, but like as a history fan, as a Star Wars fan. There's so much to love about it. And for someone to not like it and then give the reasons for it are just and those reasons being something that just really fundamentally misunderstands the show, can be very disappointing that it just doesn't land for them. And I hope that this could encourage someone to give it another shot and just see how they feel.
I over time, I was definitely like understanding some of the criticisms and things of people being like, and like, I get it if it doesn't click with you, but I'm telling you, like, with someone who like loved this show from the get-go, but still kind of had those reservations, and now I'm rewatching it, I'm like, so I've face turned on this show so much, even though there wasn't really, I already liked it in the first place. I just like it that much more, and I think going in with those expectations of what kind of show this is will completely change your thought process of being like, literally like, I get it now, so it is,
I get it.
yeah, exactly. So before we get into the chat pack, just want to say, if you have been watching or keeping along with us, feel free to continue to do so. If you haven't, it is not too late to catch up. When this comes out, roughly we will be around like 16-ish days until Andor season 2 comes out, so you've got time. You could just beat us to the punch if you wanted to. We're going to be releasing one of these every week, so yeah. But I'm not gonna do the full exit yet. We're gonna get Cole. You know what the drill. Between 2 and 124.
118.
Ooh. Let's see. Can we get a 118?
One way out. One way out.
We have a 117. We have a 118, baby.
Hey!
Okay. You wake up on the remote island of Octo, or 2, however you pronounce it. What's the first thing you do?
Man, I would start looking for food and water. I think I might like seek out the villages first, just to go like, hey guys, my bad for being here. Don't know how I got here, but I really need like a place to stay and just kind of hang out. I would look for the sacred Jedi texts. And maybe Luke's there. Who knows when, right?
Yeah, I was about to say.
What if it's at the dawn of the Jedi? What if it's all that long ago? Maybe I'm the guy. Dude, and I gotta.
The origin of the Jedi is that Cole just appeared on the island and created the Jedi. He spawned in.
I just do that meme where like I scream and disappear, and then I just go on. So, yeah. I could. I don't.
It's a strange question because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, am I like surviving, or is it just like, is this like a tour? Like, am I trying to get out? What is? I guess the world's your oyster. If I had to be selfish, depending on the timeline, I'm assuming this would probably be based on what we see in Last Jedi or after. I know Luke's green lightsaber is on that planet. That is canon. It is fact. Yeah. I'm going to get that thing. I'm gonna find it. I will shake down one of those little nanny ladies and be like, "Where did you put the lightsaber?" Because that's what it says in the lore. They were like, after Luke Skywalker died, or no, after he like gave up his stuff, they like took his lightsaber and they put it away for him. So I'm like,
they robbed him. I'm just kidding.
That lightsaber, it belongs to me.
That would yeah. I mean, I really don't know what else would there be to do, because they don't have any ships. Rey took the X-Wing, right? Yep. So unless someone went back and started like building something up, you would be stuck, okay? Yep. You'd be stuck. Maybe the Dark Side Cave has like a weird like world between worlds situation where like you could jump in a portal. But yeah, I don't know how to unlock that. I could try.
The risk is you could go down there and then you would just see a billion of yourself like in this mirror cave, and then you would just be tripping balls and probably would die.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it would be really unfortunate, right? Because like, what would I have? My Apple Watch? Can't do anything with that. I could check my heart rate, which will probably be pretty high. I would be a little scared.
They're gonna reveal your true lineage. Nobody.
No. Well, that felt like a dumb question in the deck, but there's like, it's so funny just how various these questions would be. It'd be like, would you accept the like being cloned by the Kaminoans to finance the clone army? And then just, What would happen if a AT-AT appeared on the street of your
That's
road?
funny. That was the exact one that I was thinking about, of being like, there's an AT-AT going down your street. How do you take it out, bro?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, call the Navy.
Yeah. Call the fire department. Yeah. Might be an idea. Fire truck? Nah. I can't go back to that question.
What would it do? Water, you know?
Yeah, you just spray water in the eyes, and then the guys just drown.
But they just shoot you. Wait, do they not have do they not have like reinforced glass that is just open? That would be funny. You just see them like pouring out of the window.
Like an AT-AT's like crying.
That is a sheer design flaw if it is just an open hatch. That's what the AT-STs have. Just open. I think they can close.
Oh,
like
sorry.
They have little open eyes, right?
Why did I think I did you did the
Terrible
same thing last time.
right?
I just flipped I'm thinking of an AT-ST. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
I do remember we mixed them up last time, but who knows what order it was.
Oh, if an AT-AT's coming by, it's over, bro. It's done. I would just stay inside, you know? Like, there's plenty of houses. Hopefully you're not looking to blow up every one of them. I mean, as long as you're like underneath the AT-AT, like you're fine. Just like as long as you're directly underneath it, what are they gonna do?
My house? It can't step over that. It's like those legs move in a very small manner. It's gonna crush my house if it starts moving.
I know, but I'm saying like you could run, like if it's out on the street, you could like run out and just try to dodge
just, like, keep walking under it.
Yeah, just it's like every step it takes, or just like hug on. You know what the best idea would be? Get like a hammock and put it in between two of the legs, and then you don't even have to move. It's gonna just move for you, bro.
I love how we're kind of re-answering this question.
This is not even how to take it out. This is just how to survive.
How to deal with it existing in your road. Like, is it gonna leave, or does it just show up and like surrender your entire planet to us? Like, you know, with the Star Wars FFG thing.
Yeah, they just
give us all your money.
Dude, an AT-AT in a suburb. Anyway, okay. ANDOR Part 3 Retrospective, episodes 7 through 9. That math.
Be there or
right.
be square. And you don't like being square. It's really loserish. Believe me. Okay?
Yeah, SpongeBob.
Yeah. We aren't sponsored by SpongeBob, but it could be.
I think it's time to wrap this up. Cole. Hey, may the force be with you, bro.
You too. Always.
Oh, yeah, okay.